All right, ready to go?
Yeah, why not?
Hi, everybody. Fios 1 News meteorologist Joe Cioffi here of Fios 1 News Long Island and Fios 1 News New Jersey.
And for Fios 1 News Lower Hudson Valley, Joe Rayo on the other end. And here we are, Joe, another day of heat and humidity, but this time a little different than some of the other days because we had some nature.
We had some pop-ups. Some fairly strong thunderstorms. Northeastern New Jersey getting hit fairly hard. A lot of lightning strikes. Yes. I noticed there was a ton of lightning strikes across northeastern New Jersey, and then the band sort of reformed over west central New Jersey and impacted that area and drifted southwestward. When you've got an upper high like this, the flow is actually more east to west than it is west to east. Oh, and by the way, I got to tell you something. I looked at one of the, I guess if you're a beach goer, because usually this time of year the ocean is fairly cold, the wind shifting to the south and southeast, this sort of light wind from that direction, has pushed the warm waters of the Gulf Stream very, very close to the south shore of Long Island and the Jersey Shore. I was looking at some of the water temperatures. The buoy off of Fire Island is reporting now, just the other day, they were in the mid-60s, 77. Oh, and there are South Shore temperatures of the Coast Guard station that are reporting water temperatures in the low 70s. That has to be Gulf Stream water that's being pushed. And when I looked at the sea surface temperature anomaly map tonight, we went from being 3 to 4 degrees below average. In fact, I'll pull it up. It's really very interesting how quick this happened.
We're talking about like early to mid-September type water temperature.
Yeah. Now, you know what? The first west wind that day with the west wind when it comes Friday night and Saturday, that's all going to get upwelled.
Right. And back we go to the mid-60s.
I can't bring it up because, oh, darn it, I erased it, and I have to get to Messenger in order to get to it, and it's just not going to happen. But trust me on this. When I was looking at the Coast Guard stations on the observations, that I just saw some really, really amazing numbers for water temperatures.
What would be interesting would be to see what the water temperatures, well, we know what they were along the south shore of Long Island, but then make a comparison to the waters of Long Island Sound. I'm sure that was probably a significant...
Yeah, you know what, I can... bring this up. I saw Mike Masco was on. Good to see you, Mike. I haven't talked to you in a long time, so why don't you call me one day? That was subtle. Let me... Mike works down at times. I think he's still working from time to time, Fox News at Philadelphia. If you want to Skype, Mike, you can call any time. Okay, so just looking at the Coast Guard stations here. New York Harbor entrance 76, 20 miles south of Fire Island 76. I can't believe this.
Great South Bay 83.
You know what? I will personally go check this out. I can't go tomorrow, but I'll go Thursday morning and see. I can't believe it's 83. And the other question is, is that, the water at the very top might be warm, but I wonder, if you go down 3 or 4 feet or 5 feet,
right,
what it is. I'm not sure exactly where they're measuring these water temperatures. 23 miles south-southwest of Montauk, 74. Hudson Canyon, 75.
Execution rocks.
Yeah, but there's no sound water temperatures coming out. Kings Point, that's a sound. That should be Long Island Sound. That's 72. So the waters have definitely warmed over the last 2 days because of that light south wind. So if you might get a let's say less of a chill if you head to the South Shore beaches.
And what does that do for the fishing? I mean, do the fish react to something like that? But
well, I hope to God it gets rid of the sea robins, which have been just an absolutely total infestation of sea robins in parts of the South Shore. I thought, Joe, let's just look at this. This is one of 2 disturbances that the Hurricane Center is looking at the moment off the southeast coast of the United States. And actually, if you look east of North Carolina, there's a little low-level circulation that's spinning out there, very, very small. You see it right there, and it's moving westward. This is more of a strong upper low that's out there, a cold upper low. And we mentioned that this is something that usually takes many, many days But the Hurricane Center is banking on now a 50% chance that this system could become a tropical cyclone over the next 5 days. But with that big front coming down from the north, it's going to get kicked out to the northeast. It's not going to be a factor here anyhow.
I love watching on the Florida Peninsula how the thunderstorms develop just inland from the east coast of Florida, and then the sea breeze literally pushes them all
westward,
across central and westward.
Well, look what happened over us. It look almost just very close to New York City when it starts. Watch that, Lee. See it?
Right.
It just blows up.
And
this is what blew up this afternoon. It was really quite amazing to see. And yet many areas didn't really get very much, if anything at all. Long Island hardly got a thing. And that's usually the nature of this sort of stuff.
Up my way, my wife got very upset that none of her tomato plants got a single drop of water. Meanwhile, there were parts of the Hudson Valley in Rockland County and also portions of central and southern Westchester that did get. In fact, we heard some pretty good thunder.
Yes, we did.
Through the walls and whatever like that. So people saying, "Is that thunder?" Yeah, it was thunder. So,
by the way, collective happy 4th of July to everybody. A few of you have mentioned that, so we're just extending our wishes back to you. Happy 4th of July. What's that?
I'm just looking at. Well, we're still waiting on.
I'm trying to get Andrew
on our Skype. Guest
there he is. If he chooses to answer the telephone. In the meantime, nothing, Joe. By the way, there is a second system in the tropics that we should take a look at. So, why don't I'll bring up the Hurricane Center. And actually, the GFS does develop this out in the Atlantic.
Right.
On the latest model run, looks like it even might get to at least a tropical depression before conditions become unfavorable. But let me see if I can pull up a satellite loop here.
What are we up to now in the Atlantic basin?
We only had the A storm, right?
I know. Yeah, we so far we have 6. Fabio is number 6 for the Pacific.
Oh, 6 on the Pacific, but we only had Alberto. If you look out, I have the satellite loop here, and you can see in the eastern Atlantic there is a fairly vigorous tropical wave there that is west-southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands and moving westward. The Hurricane Center indicating that conditions are conducive for some development over the rest of this week, but by the time we get to the weekend, when it gets a little further to the west, conditions become a bit more unfavorable as it approaches, say, the northeast Caribbean. So, but we'll see. Otherwise, it's pretty quiet. You can see, look at that upper low. You see how the upper low is just kind of spinning around there. I don't know. This time of year, it's you got to have pretty. The aloft conditions have to be there for systems to develop, but we'll watch it.
Yeah, the waters have to simmer a little bit more, another month or so. Or as former National Hurricane Director Neil Frank used to say, well, July is usually a slack month.
Right.
That's what he called July, a slack month.
And the ocean water temperatures here have warmed a bit. They're not as far below average as what they were, but we'll see where they go in the next couple of weeks.
And I did post on my Facebook page that the latest prediction, I believe, from Colorado State indicates now that the projections are that this will be a below normal.
Right. Well, they knocked it down because of that, and a possible El Nino developing on the Pacific side. But you know what? I think these are variables that have yet to play themselves out. Let's see what happens.
Right.
All right. So as far as the forecast goes, Joe, really not too much has changed. There's probably the risk for some pop-ups again tomorrow. Who gets them? I don't know. It might be the same people that got them today. They might be in slightly different areas. We'll see how what happens.
Basically, this cold front, which touched off today's activity, is going to come on in, but it's losing its potency as almost with each passing hour, and so the corpse, if you will, or the residual effects, still in our general vicinity tomorrow will be probably enough to kick off a few more pop-ups, and then Thursday, while there might be something popping up, there'll probably be few or far between.
Well, here's Thursday. It looks like it's a little more north and west Thursday, because then you got
now we have to wait for the next
real front that's going to come through on Friday.
Absolutely. And that'll come on through. And
this is Friday afternoon at 2 p.m. The front is just about moving through. Storm predictions that are not indicated, it's in their day 4 still. So usually you don't see too much of the day 4. A few people have asked me about the risk for severe weather on Friday. I think some of these thunderstorms could wind up being strong if the front times itself out.
Take a look at today.
A little later in the day.
We were nowhere. I mean, they just broad brushed us with general thunderstorms here, and yet today.
They were out of control. Some of them were out of control.
Some of them were producing like rain at the rate of 1 to 2 inches an hour, and of course, as you mentioned at the top of the show, we had lots of cloud to ground lightning. So who's to say this coming Friday could be?
I tend to think it's a juiced up atmosphere with these dew points well up into the 70s. You've got this front coming through. There's a fairly strong push of cool air. The upper trough is rather impressive. That's dropping into southeastern Canada. So, why not? That there could be some strong thunderstorms Friday afternoon. And then after that, the weekend looks good.
Yeah.
Lots of sunshine for Saturday and Sunday. Low humidity.
Now, what do you think? The European, for example, just wants to keep Saturday precipitation free. Other models are trying to hint that there might be some lingering activity from Friday night that might last into early Saturday morning.
I know the GFS doesn't have it. Who has it? Which model?
I think the Canadian was one of them that was suggesting, or.
Well, here's Friday. It's a little slower with the front because it brings it through Friday evening.
Right.
Saturday morning, there might be some clouds close by if you believe the Canadian. The other two models seem to suppress further south faster, so maybe there'll be some patchy clouds early in the day, but I'm wondering if it'll just go partly to mostly sunny after that.
It looks like a Sunday especially looks like a sunny day from start to finish, and humidity's down, and then the humidity will start creeping back up again early next week. But compared to what we have been through, going through these last several days, come Saturday right on through the beginning of next week will look just great, or feel just great.
The pattern's changing because the upper high is going to the west now, and we're going to we're seeing every model going with this idea of a trough in the east, which will mean that could it get hot for a day or so? Yeah. Could it get humid for a day or so? Yeah. But there'll be a cold front coming along every few days to just kind of knock it down.
Right.
At least if you believe this, if we get into the trough in the east, it just looks like we're going back to what we had during the month of June.
Right. The broad brush 1 month probability for temperatures from the Climate Prediction Center, they had the northeastern part of the country in well above normal, which kind of surprised me, opened my eyes a little bit. But then in their 3 to 4 week. See, this is the thing I don't understand.
They lag, though. They're always like a day behind.
Right, but the thing I don't understand is they more or less put that forecast out about the same time they put their 3 to 4 week experimental out, and their 3 to 4 week experimental prog had probabilities near or even below seasonal normals, and yet they just broad brushed the whole month of July with above normal. So
somebody wanted to go home early for the holiday. Excuse me, I'm sorry. It's been kind of a long day with all this. Ryan Ford says power is out in parts of northern New Jersey. Thanks for letting us know, Ryan. We'll check that out. Let's see. Jason Barry will need some sun Friday morning to get the storms going. There might be time for that. If the front slows down and doesn't get through till mid-afternoon, wouldn't be surprised. Leon's force field. Leon Probitsky, his force field in Lindenhurst that kills thunderstorms may break down on Friday. I would agree with that. Richard Melikar is on tonight. Michael Burrell, Todd Rudolph, Timothy Veltman. Been so hot, I only worked a 7-hour day each of the past 2 days. Outside up in upstate New York, some places have gotten brutally hot. That is definitely the case. I know, Chris Bailey, that sea robins are actually delicious. In fact, in England, my understanding is that they've become quite the delicacy, and I think they cost $4 a pound, or how many pounds for a kilo? I forgot. But it's $4 a pound to translate it over to our side. But they've become very popular there. The tail, from what I understand, is supposed to be very good. I just I want to go for some fluke. which is where I'm aiming here.
What about there was a fish? Some people make soup out of it. Brigol, is it?
Yeah, I've heard that. I actually have caught a couple of those over the past few years, but I've never tried it. Yes, I know, Mike Masco. I'm as subtle as a garlic sandwich. Give me a call every once in a while. With the warmer waters, I'm curious what's making the NHC back down on its predictions. Well, when they made the prediction, it's probably because of the anomalies are playing catch up, Jason. Sometimes they're looking at stuff from a week ago or 4 or 3 days ago. A lot of the changes in the ocean water temperatures, sometimes they can change over the course of 24 to 48 hours, depending on the wind direction and the currents and everything else. So, look, it's going to be what it is at this point. I don't think we need to. We should really kind of. We shouldn't spend a whole lot of time getting wrapped up in whether this. They lowered their prediction, they raised their prediction. It is what it is. We'll just wait to see what happens.
Ryan Ford says that there was some lightning that struck some trees in northern Jersey. Did you guys hear about that? Yeah, we, in fact, our midday people, Brittany Borer and Addison Green, when I came in today, they were busier than, two-fisted paper hangers, just running around because of the severe weather outbreak. Again, mostly over northern and northeast New Jersey, and a lot of that stuff dropping all that heavy rain and the cloud-to-ground lightning and knocking down some trees. So it was pretty impressive, at least in this relatively small area for a short while today.
2 hellos. Jeff Wise from Ellicott City in Maryland, where they had that massive flood.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah.
Maria Sotomayor, I don't know if you're related to the Supreme Court Justice, who, by the way, graduated from my high school, Cardinal Spellman High School in the Bronx, 3 years before I did.
Wow.
So, I think that was one of the most amazing things when she became a Supreme Court Justice, because there's a sense of pride that someone from your high school achieved success that the pinnacle of law there.
Absolutely.
Let's see. I'm just trying to run through some of the rest of the comments here, folks. Let's see. It needs some rain to get the sun to get the storms going, I believe. Daniel Kirby, going back in Virginia to a stormy pattern. Well, if the front coming down gets hung up, patterns do like to repeat, and the frontal boundary through the month of June was set up across Virginia westward, and you guys got rain. I wouldn't say nonstop, but you certainly got a ton of it. And by the way, that probably has helped you out with some of the temperatures right now, because your soil moisture content is so high. It's probably helped to keep your temperatures a few degrees cooler than they otherwise would be. Danny Nankumar, long range in terms of the heat. Like we said, the ridge breaks down, so we should be okay. Read this one, Joe.
It's so hot and humid that I couldn't put on my fake eyebrows.
Tragic. Really tragic. That was from Amanda Piera. Let's see. Ocean City, Maryland for Keith Scaley. Vacation next week. All right, you know what? I had to really give it a good look to everything next week. So, Keith, ask me tomorrow or Thursday, okay? And I'll try and answer. Let's see. What else we got? Ryan Ford, the answer to that question is probably no. With the front getting hung up, could that draw the tropical disturbance in the central Atlantic closer to land? I would say the answer to that is no, because the jet stream, the steering winds aloft are going to drop all the way south to off the North Carolina coast, so you're going to have southwest winds off the east coast. So this place has nowhere to go but out. And that's it.
And Keith Skiley says, thanks.
Ask me tomorrow, Keith. It's just been kind of a long day. Hot from Jeff Wise in Ellicott City, seeing people wearing sweatpants. Is there a joke there somewhere that I'm not getting? Maybe I'm too tired.
I don't know. I remember when it was like my wife and I were invited to a barbecue at a friend's house in Connecticut. It was like 100 and something degrees. It was exceedingly hot, very humid, and I thought it was a joke. I was the hit of the party. As a joke, I got my big fur parka from the wintertime, and just before we made our entrance, I put it on.
Oh, nice.
And I said, "Oh, boy, I tell you, it is so cool out here today." You know? And everybody got a big kick out of that.
Stephen Gasparini, hey Joe, you're from the Bronx. Actually, both Joes. We're
Yes.
both from the Bronx.
Yes.
Not that far apart either, in Throgs Neck.
Yes.
So we'll go. We've gone into our history from time to time. One of these days, when the weather's slow, we'll go through it again. Gary Stone, hope you're feeling better with your procedure that you had. Good to see you back on the running trail. Saturday is the day, Suzanne Contrada, that the humidity breaks. And your friend is in Turkana. I don't know where that is, but it's 120 there. Okay, they can keep it there.
Here's Leon
Leon
Probitsky mentioning about the sunspots. I tell you, I'll say this again, Leon, that there are people who claim that when there's a lack of sunspots, and this is like the 8th consecutive day that the sun is totally blank, that supposedly back in the late 1600s, early 1700s, there was a long stretch where there were no sunspots, and that also coincided with what was known as the Little Ice Age. And somebody, I think it was Dr. Eddy, E-D-D-Y, who suggested that this might have some connection, that the lack of sunspots, the paucity of solar activity, might lead to unseasonably cold or cool water, cool temperatures, atmospheric temperatures over the northern hemisphere. But I did speak to Gavin Schmidt from NASA and asked him about this several years ago, and he says the sun has absolutely nothing to do with our climate to any significant degree, and he says the reason why there was a little ice age back in the late early 1700s was because of unusual volcanic eruptions, activity,
as opposed to the sunspots.
So there's it's a very contentious issue, because there are people, even PhDs, who have written technical papers claiming the sun does have something to do with our climate. Others who say no, it's a lot of hogwash, and there are other things that... And people are looking at the current sunspot minimum, Joe, and saying this is going to bring the temperatures down, and this will show the fact that global warming and climate change has absolutely nothing to do with man-made occurrences, that it's all due to the sun. I really don't know.
It's an honest answer.
It's
there's a lot of things we don't know, and I guess
you and I have gotten into discussion. I say if there was something to all this, I would point to the Pacific Decadal Oscillation,
yes.
The PDO,
right,
where the Pacific Ocean at cycles of 30 to 40 years, sometimes it warms up abnormally, sometimes it gets very cool, and if you want to look at some correlations, that may lead to the atmosphere cooling off or warming up or whatever. And it was unseasonably cool back in the 60s and 70s.
Right. Then there was the PDO shifted, I believe, around 1979 or 1980.
And then all of a sudden, everything started warming up in the Pacific,
right,
and our atmosphere started warming up. And then somebody said, "Hey, we're in global warming now," and I really don't know. Again, it's a very contentious issue. I'll just simply sit back, watch, and we'll see what happens.
We're both Switzerland here. Just a standpoint of neutrality, it's probably the safest place to be. 4th of July tomorrow, you and I are both here.
Yes.
So be sure to tune in, because we'll try and do this a bit early so that you guys can go out to your fireworks and keep you abreast of what thunderstorms are going on.
Now, Daniel Kirby, Mount Tambora, 1815, that led to the famous winter weather or the year without a summer,
right,
in 1816 over New England, where it supposedly snowed every month in parts of New England, including June, July, and August. And he said that the most powerful... I always thought Krakatoa was the most powerful volcanic... See, these are things I just really don't understand. I'm not a geophysicist. Aerosol clouds, ash clouds, or whatever that go up. And we just had a very potent volcanic eruption a few weeks ago.
Right, with Fuego.
Right. And so what is that going to do, if anything? I don't know.
There's a lot. These are not simple things. The only thing that we do know is that I have a hand in the worldwide weather manipulation, if only because of the fact that I want sweet Washington State
You want the
cherries.
cherries. You brought this up.
So
last
I
time.
brought the ridge in the east and the trough in the west, because cherries that stay on the tree, that's how they get sweet. The longer they stay unpicked, the sweeter they get. That is the real story.
You
Okay,
sound like Kramer from Seinfeld with the Mackinac peaches.
right. All right, so look, let's call it a night, folks. Brian Fitzgerald, I think, is soloing tomorrow morning on Fios One News, and I believe Addison Green and Brittany Borer are on the midday, and you and I are both here tomorrow evening.
We'll be here.
All right.
As long as they have the food delivered, I'll be here.
Tune in at the top of the hour. I'll be on Long Island in New Jersey, along with all the latest breaking top stories.
And, oh, is that my turn?
Not your turn.
Oh, it's my turn. I will be standing by with all of the weather that you need for the lower Hudson Valley. Although they had their major, here in the Hudson Valley of Westchester, they had their major fireworks display tonight at Kensico Dam.
Right.
I hope the grass wasn't too wet for the people who came out to watch that.
Well, one thing's for sure, it's horribly humid out either way.
Yes, indeed.
All right, folks, have a great evening. We will see you tomorrow. Happy 4th of July, and be safe.
Don't forget, if you want to be safe on the 4th, don't order a 5th on the 3rd.